Hi, this is Bill Brower for Inside Edge Systems, Easy Language Learning by Example tutorial for TradeStation. This is lesson 1.03. In this example, you will be learning more about Easy Language syntax, creating user inputs, and about custom variables. This exercise will compute and plot the difference between two moving averages. You can use inputs to represent hard-coded numbers. Inputs can be modified manually from the charting window or from radar screen. Strategy inputs can even be optimized. Inputs must be declared using the inputs statement followed immediately by a colon. Each input is limited to 42 characters and may not contain any operators or spaces and must start with a letter. When declaring inputs, they are separated by a comma with a semicolon after the last input. Each input has a declared default value, which is enclosed in parentheses. The input can be placed on one line, or if there are a number of them, you can spread them out on multiple lines. Custom user variables can be defined instead of using the built-in variables like value 1 or condition 1. Except in special cases, I do not recommend using built-in variables as it makes maintaining the code difficult. Custom variables must be declared using the vars statement. Vars is short for variables. Each custom variable is limited to 20 characters and must start with a letter or some of the keyboard characters like £sign and $sign. And much like inputs, when declaring custom variables, they are separated by commas and the last one must end in a semicolon. Each variable has a declared initial value called the default value, which is enclosed in parentheses. The main benefit of using custom variables is that they can be given descriptive names, and this will become important in the long run. So take the time to avoid condition 1 or value 2 type variables. Some indicators, like this one, are plotted in subgraphs because the scaling is different than that used by price, and scaling is set from the properties window, which, as you have seen from example 1 and example 2, is accessed by right-clicking in the background of the code. So in this example, you can see that we have an inputs line with two inputs, two different moving average lengths, 3 variables. The third one is the moving average difference. The first variable is set equal to the moving average of length 1, and the second is moving average of length 2. We compute the difference and plot that using the plot 1 statement. Now let's look at what this looks like in TradeStation. Here we are in TradeStation's development environment. From the menu, we want to click on File, New, Indicator. We'll call this LBE underscore 1.03 and click on OK. We need an inputs line. MALEN 1 is going to be 10. And MALEN 2 is going to be 20. That's our inputs line with a colon, two inputs separated by a comma, and each of them have default values with a semicolon at the end. We now need two custom variables using our vars statement. And a third, actually, for the difference. Again, comma separated with a semicolon at the end. If I want to make it a little prettier, I can do things like put these on separate lines if I had a lot of them, and if they were being imported from another location, it sometimes is easier to look at them vertically. As long as I have a semicolon at the end, it tells TradeStation where the end of the line of code is. These effectively are all on one line of code. I now need the two variables to be set equal to the average. And for the sake of efficiency, I will copy that. Control C copies, Control V pastes. I now compute my diff. And my plot statement. Let's see if this verifies. Down here, it says saved and verified. Let's right-click in the code, go to Properties. Here we want to make sure we set the scaling for right axis in a subgraph, not same axis as scaling. So basically it is okay the way it is. We're going to set the style. In this case, let's pick a histogram, and the color can be yellow. That is fine. Under the General tab, we could have this update every tick, but we don't have to. No need to load additional data for cumulative calculations, which, as I've said before, is primarily for exponential moving averages. Click on OK. If we come down here and look where it says not saved, not verified, I hit F3 on my keyboard. It now shows saved and verified. Let's go apply this indicator to my chart and see what it looks like. Here is a chart of Apple. Insert indicator. Here is my LBE 1.03. Let's see what that looks like. Here is the difference between my two moving averages. I think that does it for lesson 1.03. You can find out more about learning by example workbook at my website, InsideEdge.net. I hope you learned something. Thanks for listening. This is Bill Brower.